If you own property in Buncombe County, and if you're like most homeowners, your first reaction was probably some version of, my home is assessed at how much? This reevaluation is going to affect every single property owner in Buncombe County. It impacts your property taxes, your equity position, and potentially your decision about whether to sell, refinance, or appeal. I'm O'Neill Scott with your Asheville Connection, and in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what this reevaluation means, how it affects your property taxes, what your options are if you disagree with the assessed value, and what this tells us about the current real estate market. This is important information that affects your finances directly. So let's get into it. Let's start with what a reevaluation actually is and why it's happening now. A property tax reevaluation is when the county reassesses the value of every property to bring assessed values in line with current market values. North Carolina law requires counties to conduct reevaluations at least once every 8 years. Buncombe County's last full reevaluation was in 2017. So this 2026 reevaluation reflects market conditions and property values as of January 1, 2026. Here's what's critical to understand. Your assessed value is not the same as your tax bill. Your assessed value is what the county believes your property is worth based on recent sales data, property characteristics, and market trends. Your tax bill is calculated by taking that assessed value and multiplying it by the tax rate. The tax rate is set by the county commissioners, city councils, and other taxing districts like fire districts. So even if your assessed value goes up 50%, your tax bill will not go up 50% because tax rates typically adjust downward after a reevaluation to avoid what's called revenue windfall. That said, in a market like Asheville, where property values have increased substantially since 2017, most homeowners are seeing significant jumps in their assessed values. We're talking 40, 50, and in some cases 60% or more increases compared to the 2017 assessment. So why did assessed values jump so dramatically for most properties? Because the Asheville real estate market experienced historic appreciation between 2017 and 2025. In 2017, the median home price for Buncombe County was approximately $265,000. As of early 2026, the median home price is around $465,000. That's a 75% increase in less than 9 years. Some neighborhoods saw even steeper appreciation. West Asheville, parts of South Asheville near Biltmore, the River Arts District, downtown condos, and North Asheville all experienced significant value growth driven by strong demand, limited inventory, remote work migration, and Asheville's appeal as a relocation destination. Let's talk about the practical impact on your property tax bill. Here's an example. Let's say your home was assessed at $300,000 in 2017, and your new 2026 assessed value is $480,000. That's a 60% increase. In fiscal year 2025, the combined county and city tax rate for a property in Asheville was approximately 54.66 cents per $100 of assessed value. On a $300,000 home, that's about $1,640 per year in county and city taxes combined. Now, if the tax rate stayed exactly the same at 54.66 cents, your new tax bill on a $480,000 assessment would be $2,624, an increase of about $984 per year, or roughly $82 per month. But here's what's likely to happen. The county and city will adjust the tax rate downward to avoid collecting dramatically more total revenue just because property values went up across the board. The new tax rate will be set in June 2026 when the county and city finalize their budgets. It's likely the rate will drop to somewhere around 45 to 48 cents per $100 of assessed value to keep total revenue increases more moderate. If the rate drops to 48 cents, your tax bill on that $480,000 assessment would be about $2,304. Still an increase of $664 per year compared to what you were paying, but not as dramatic as if the rate stayed the same. The bottom line, yes, your property taxes are going up. The amount depends on how much your assessed value increased and where the new tax rates land when they're set this summer. Now, what if you look at your assessed value and you believe it's too high? What are your options? You have the right to appeal. Here's how that process works. First, there's an informal appeal period that runs through early March 2026. You can contact the Buncombe County Tax Assessor's office directly, either by phone, email, or in person, and request an informal review of your assessment. You'll need to provide evidence that supports your position. This can include a recent independent appraisal, comparable sales data showing similar homes in your neighborhood sold for less, documentation of property issues like needed repairs, foundation problems, or damage, evidence that the assessor's data about your property is incorrect. For example, they listed your home as having 2,000 square feet when it's actually 1,600. Many assessment disputes are resolved at this informal stage. The assessor's office will review your evidence, and if it's compelling, they may adjust your assessed value without you needing to go through the formal appeal. If you're not satisfied with the outcome of the informal review, you can file a formal appeal with the Board of Equalization and Review. This is a more formal process where you'll present your case to a panel and they'll make a binding decision. The deadline for filing formal appeals is typically late April or early May. You'll receive specific instructions with your assessment notice. Here's my advice. If you genuinely believe your assessed value is significantly higher than your home's actual market value, let's say 10% or more, it's worth pursuing an appeal. But come prepared with real data. Bring comparable sales from the last 12 months. Bring an independent appraisal if you have one. Bring documentation of needed repairs or property issues. However, if your assessed value is generally in line with what similar homes in your neighborhood have sold for in the past year or two, an appeal is unlikely to result in a significant reduction. Now let's talk about what this reevaluation means if you're thinking about selling your home. First, your new assessed value gives you a data point of your home's approximate market value. It's not exact, but it's in the ballpark for most properties. If your home is assessed at $480,000, you can reasonably expect that your home would likely sell somewhere in the range of $450,000 to $510,000, depending upon condition, location, and current market conditions. Second, the reevaluation confirms how much equity you've built since 2017. If you bought your home before 2020, you're sitting on significant equity. That equity gives you options. You can sell and move up, downsize, relocate, or cash out and invest elsewhere. Third, if you've been on the fence about selling, understanding your property tax trajectory might influence your decision. If your taxes are going up $50 to $100 per month and you're already feeling stretched financially, it might be the push you need to downsize or relocate to a lower cost area. Fourth, if you're thinking about selling within the next 12 to 24 months, now is a good time to get a professional market analysis. Your assessed value is one data point, but a comparative market analysis based on recent sales, current inventory, and market trends will give you a much more accurate picture of what your home will actually sell for today. Over the next few months, here's what I'll be tracking related to the reevaluation. First, the county and city budget processes. The new tax rates will be set in June when budgets are finalized. I'll report on those rates as soon as they're public so you can calculate your actual tax bill. Second, appeal activity. If there's a high volume of appeals, that could signal that the assessor's office overvalued certain neighborhoods or property types. I'll be watching for patterns. Third, whether the reevaluation affects seller behavior. If a significant number of homeowners decide to sell because they're cashing out equity or because higher taxes make staying less affordable, we could see inventory increase in certain price ranges. And finally, I'll be covering neighborhood-specific impacts. Some areas saw bigger assessment increases than others. I'll break down what's happening in West Asheville, North Asheville, South Asheville, and other key areas in upcoming videos. If you're a Buncombe County property owner and you're trying to figure out for your specific situation, whether you should appeal, what your taxes will actually be, or whether now is the right time to sell, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I'll be covering more reevaluation updates, neighborhood-specific analysis, and market impacts over the coming weeks. Drop a comment. Did your assessment come in higher or lower than you expected? I'm curious to hear what homeowners across the county are seeing. I'm O'Neill Scott with your Asheville Connection. See you next week.